Hey, so I wanted to just take a minute and share with you something that happened when I was on vacation. I just got back. We spent about 9 days in a small community up in the mountains of Vermont. In this community, there were about nine different artisan coffee shops, independent coffee shops. Now, there was a Starbucks and there was a Dunkin'. I didn't go there. I'm a big fan of coffee, and I wanted to try all of these coffee shops and experience their coffee and learn more about what they do. I went to 7 out of the 9. I just ran out of time and the ability to handle the caffeine. And I wanna tell you what made the difference. The nicest, largest, most impressive coffee shop in this area was an absolute fail. It should have been amazing. It advertised itself as a European espresso bar, a European style coffee bar. Now, having never been to a European coffee bar, I didn't know what that meant, but it sounded exotic. So we went to it. It was in this huge facility, wide open room, open concept brewing area for the baristas where you could watch them make your coffee. But I was incredibly disappointed because we went in and they just, after taking your order, they ignored you. They didn't pay attention to you. Maybe that's what European style means. I have no idea. But they ignored you. They didn't talk to you. I wanted to talk about the coffee. I wanted to talk about the process. I wanted them to engage me as a customer, and they didn't. In fact, the majority of the 7 independent coffee shops we went to had that vibe. Once they took your order, they were done with you. And maybe that's what people want. Granted, not everybody goes to coffee shops to engage the baristas in conversation. But there were 2 that did this really well and one that stood out better than all the rest. They used the art of storytelling to really connect with customers and kept me wanting to go back. In fact, I went back 4 times in the 9 days that I was there. I told other people about it, I posted about it on social media, and I would go back to that again if I was in that area. It was a little tiny coffee shop called Movement Roasters. And not only do they make excellent coffee, because they do, their espresso shots are amazing, but that wasn't what made them stand out. What made them stand out was their grasp of storytelling and their willingness to engage customers, not only to learn my story, but to ask me specific questions about me, who I was, how long I was staying. The second day that I went in, they remembered that conversation and they followed up. They took the time while they were pulling the espresso shot or making the latte to answer questions and tell you about the brewing process. They're also a roastery and they have their roasting machine right out there where people can see it. It's a relatively large roasting machine, and they'll tell you about the process. They took time to share where they are and where they're hoping to be and why coffee is so important to them and how they felt that coffee would make them a better place for the community. So it stuck out in my mind because when you have that many independent coffee shops in a small community, you have to find a way to stand out. What I noticed about this coffee shop was that they were always busy from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. The days they were open, there were always people in the parking lot. And I think I know why. It wasn't because their coffee was better than everyone else's. Other people made great coffee too. It was the fact that you felt like you were part of a story. You knew who they were, what they were trying to accomplish, and they were interested in you. And they took time to engage in that narrative. And that made a huge difference. Now, what does that have to do with those of us who don't have coffee shops? It shows the power of story. In a crowded marketplace, we have to be able to find a way to stand out. We have to be able to find a way to engage. Storytelling is the best way to do that. When you are able to tell your story effectively or your stories effectively and engage people and draw stories out of them, you will make a connection that in a crowded marketplace will make you rise to the top. A good product or service is important. You need to do that. But when other people are able to provide a quality product, how will you differentiate yourself from them? One of the best ways I know how, and the way that costs you zero money, is storytelling. So think about that in your business, think about that in your industry. How do you how do you use storytelling? That's a lot of you sounds. How do you use storytelling to set yourself apart? Thanks for watching this video. I hope to see you again on the next post or the next video. Think about that. How is storytelling setting you apart in a crowded marketplace?